thank you for joining me today. For today's class, I'm going to walk you through how to paint this koi fish using a technique known as loose watercolor. For a full list of what you need to get started, check out the video description below. Also, be sure to hit like if you enjoyed painting along with me, and hit subscribe if you want to see other videos just like this one. Let's get started. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is get started by sketching out the fish. So, I'm going to walk you through each little step and just break it down for you. We're going to keep this drawing nice and simple for those who aren't familiar with sketching out. So we're just going to draw a small arc going down the center of the page. And you want it to be like a very shallow rainbow, sideways rainbow. Then we're going to have it peek over, and this is the front of the fish, and then come down a little bit. And then we're going to have it follow the same shape as the top, but get narrower towards the bottom. It's going to curve around like that. So we're going to come down. This one comes down as well. And then they both come back. This is going towards where the tail's going to be. Now the top of the fish follows this line. So we're going to draw a line about 1/3 of the way down the fish, going up and arcing back. And then we're going to go from the center of the back of the tail and come up and down again, sort of like a fin, and then up towards that line we have back here. Now we're going to follow the bottom and connect those two right there. And we're going to be erasing all that, but we'll leave it for now. So then we'll do the back fin. And so the back fin's a little more dramatic. We're going to come up and around. And then we're going to do the other one. And come and connect. And you can pause this video at any time just to catch up with the drawing. We're going to do a little U shape right here. And then we're going to connect the fin that's on the side right here. So we're going to draw a line here, and this one is going to connect right here. And then we have one more right here. So we're going to go down, across, up, and then up here. So I'm just sort of looking at it all, making sure it makes sense. I'm going to erase this line. And then we'll draw a little eye here and a little eye here. And because we're keeping this painting fairly simple, we don't need to worry too much about detail on the eyes. I'm just kind of looking at it now, making sure it looks right. We'll have one more fin here, I just noticed. All right, so now we're going to do a layer of clear water. So I'm going to use my angled brush here. If you have a round brush, this would be a good one to use for this part. So we're going to fill up the whole body of the fish with clear water. We're going to be doing this in stages. So if at any point I'm moving too fast, just pause the video and play catch up. We'll fill in the whole thing, eyes, everything with clear water here. And we'll leave the fin white. So I'm just going to go around that fin. And you want enough water that there's a sheen of water on the page, but not too much water that you have large bubbles, because those will take a really long time to dry. Now I'm going to take the orange, and I'm just going to dab the orange towards the center of the painting. All koi fish have a variety of different patterns on their backs, but we're going to do this one with a mix of oranges and a little bit of the black or Paynes Gray, depending what paint colors you have. I'm going to do quite a bit on the front. And I like the way when you have clear water down first, I like the way it sort of bleeds out. So I'm going to take a bit of Paynes Gray, and like I said, you can also use black, and I'm going to just add a little bit in here. It's going to really fan out a lot, and that's what we want to see. It's okay if they fan out into each other. You're not wanting to mix the colors, you're just wanting to have them sort of butt up next to each other. So I'm going to darken this one by adding a little bit more, because as it dissipates through the clear water, it's going to lighten quite a bit. So we're just going to darken that and darken right here. And then I'm going to take a bit and just add it here. And then what I want to do is add some purple. So I find just having the gray is a little bit boring, so we're going to add a little bit of purple, and I'm going to have that purple follow through into the tail. So now what I'm going to do for the tail is just come around and just loosely add water onto the tail, and I'm going to connect it in here. Not to worry if you touch the painting and it bleeds in like that, we want to see a bit of that happening. So for this part, I've added clear water down. Now I'm just going to quickly add some purple, starting at the base of the tail and moving towards, sorry, not the base, the end, tip of the tail, and moving towards the fish. Now, because this is a fairly loose watercolor painting, I do have to move fairly fast. So I'm going to go in and do this fin next, and I'm wanting to pull from the body and have it come down. So I want some of this to come into this fin. And while I have a bit of black on the brush, I'm just going to add it to the tail here. And I want the tail to look like it's drifting away. So what I'm going to do is take a bit of purple and take my flat brush, and I'm going to do some splatters going outwards. And this is going to capture that movement of the fish through the water. And then I'm going to take clear water and go over top. And this helps break up some of those splatters so that it's a mix of splatters and sort of smudges going outwards. Because I'm trying not to create any solid lines right now. So I'm noticing this is drying up fairly light again, so I'm going to actually come back and work through that spot there. I like how dark the orange has stayed, but I'm still going to add a little bit more, and I'm actually going to mix in a little bit of red and then add. And so this is drier than I thought. So what I do if I notice brush strokes around is I add a little bit of clear water around it to help blend it in. All right, great. So now I'm going to have this fin actually come out. So I want to pull from the black that's there. So what I do is I put clear water towards the end of the fin, and then I just bring it up. And as soon as I do that, this is all going to bleed out. And same with the back fin here. I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to have it come up and touch. And when I massage the orange on the back, it's going to actually pull its way into the fin a little bit here. So I don't want any harsh lines here, so I'm going to blend it in with the back, but adding lines as I go. I'm keeping a very loose hand on the fin, on the brush, sorry, as I go. And I want a little bit of this black to bleed in. And I'm kind of feeling like I want to see a little more teal on this fish. So while it's still wet over here, I'm actually going to add a tiny bit of teal just towards the end of this fin. And then maybe a little in here. I find with these paintings, sometimes I'm always kind of feeling them out and deciding. So you don't have to follow the exact same colors I do. If it makes you more comfortable, certainly do it. I'm going to put clear water here and let some of this Paynes Gray bleed into that fin. And same thing, I'm going to add a tiny bit of teal here. But this is where I want to do splatters again. So while this is still wet, I'm going to take some teal splatters and I'm going to add them here, add some here, and then add a few around. And I'm going to add a few on the fish itself. And I like to do them in a direction that the fin's going. So if the fin's going out that way, I'm going to do the orange ones that way. And just kind of, I'm going to add a little bit of clear water around to massage some of them so that they're not all perfectly shaped splatters. So now that I've done that, what I'm going to do is work my way around the entire painting while it's still wet, adding a little more detail. And so while it's still wet, you're going to notice that some of the details blend in and some don't. And that's how you really get that loose style. So what I'm going to do is add some lines on the tail. And you'll notice this one blended in and one didn't. So some are going to bleed in and some are going to be thin lines. So that's really what I'm trying to achieve. And if it does it too much, like sometimes I get too strong of a line, like I find that line a little harsh right there. So what I can do is take some clear water and massage that in, and then it loosens up that line. I'm gonna do some teal lines here. And then going along the back fin, I wanna add some red. With my, I'm using my small brush like right now. This is, I'd call it a medium liner. It's a nice round brush. It's good for adding detail, but not really fine detail. So I'm gonna add a little more of the Paynes Gray, and what I'm gonna do with this is outline sections of it. So just sort of picking and choosing where I want to have a little more definition. I think I'd like to add my eyes right now, so taking the black. Adding those lines right now. I'm just kind of working my way around the painting and adding a little bit of definition to certain areas, whilst also still keeping it quite loose. So I noticed that I'm missing a part of the fin here, so I'm going to go back to my angle brush. And if you didn't miss that part, that's great. I sometimes miss little sections, so we're just going to come back. And I'm going to keep this one actually fairly light, so I'm okay that I don't have it as dark. I'm going to actually just do more orange than red for this part. And then I'll come around. And for this fin, I'm just going to add a little bit of teal. And then I'm going to take my Paynes Gray again and just kind of work my way around. So some of these fins I want to just add a little on the outside, and it's still wet, so they're gonna bleed in a little bit, and that's okay. This is a very loose painting, so it's totally okay if not everything is perfect. So I'm gonna add a little clear water down here actually. And this is just gonna represent the water, so just a little bit of teal down here. And then I'm gonna follow the same pattern up here, so just adding a little clear water up by the head. Being careful not to touch the actual fish. And then adding a little here too. And then if I add some splatters over top of that, it makes the shape of that clear water a little more organic. I'm just kind of looking over and deciding if I want to add any more color anywhere else. I want to keep this piece extremely loose, so I'm mindful not to overwork it. So I do think I want to darken up just this little area here. So I'm going to add a little more clear water and just add a little more of the Paynes Gray. And then a little bit up here. Then I think I'm actually going to add a little spot around this eye here. So I add clear water first, and then if I want to add the black over top, I add it after I've added the clear water. And this just keeps the black from being like a strong line. So it'll only bleed for a little bit and then it'll stop, and so you won't get that harsh line. So I'm just going to add a little more. And then I'm going to add a tiny bit more on the tail. Just because I'm noticing certain areas I want to just punch up a little more, and that's how I do it, by just darkening them a little. All right, so I think that's good for that. I think that's all I want to do for this koi, and I'm going to play around with doing a few kois or doing like a cluster of them in a pond, but I think this is a really good start for if you're wanting to get used to painting extremely loose. This gives you an idea of how I do that. I'm always kind of jumping around the page. So I'll give this guy a little signature down below. And that's all for today. Thank you for painting with me. If you enjoyed painting along with me today, be sure to hit the like button and hit subscribe if you want to watch more videos just like this one. Thanks for watching.